Friends, burnout doesn't look like this. Also, nobody really tells you what burnout actually looks like at the top of your organization. It doesn't look like somebody falling apart. It doesn't look like just like somebody breaking down in the parking lot. It looks like a really capable person just slowly drifting to become less curious. That's what burnout really is. Their questions get shorter, right? Their ideas stop coming. They still show up, they're there. They still hit the metrics, but something is gradually leaving, and you can't feel it if you're not paying attention. So here's what I want to ask you today, and I need you to be honest. When was the last time that your cabinet walked out of a meeting genuinely energized? Not relieved it was over. That's a different kind of energized, right? Just generally energized. Not by checking the boxes, actually alive with something. I hope that's the case for you this summer, but if you're searching for that answer, just stay with me here, because that gap between the team that is capable of leading and the one that is actually just showing up on Tuesday, that's a structural issue. And it's not random. It's not about effort, and it almost certainly isn't about the people. Does that have you a little more curious? I hope so. I hope this is a bit liberating for somebody that might be kind of just becoming less curious. It's about three forces that are burning you and your cabinet down from the inside, and we captured actually 7 of these forces. I'm going to give you just 3 of them in the latest Burnout Force book. There are 7 forces that are actively working against your leaders right now, and most of us are kind of sleepy, tired, and not even noticing when we're in the grip, right? You don't see them on the agenda. So let me give you the forces in a way that I'm going to just say you deserve to hear them. First of all, 60% of K-12 educators are experiencing burnout right now. 64% of higher education faculty, same metric. Twice as likely as comparably working adults that are reporting just a little less stress. The world is hard right now, but education and healthcare are really taking it in full stride. And here's the one thing that should stop you cold. Your people are 40% more likely to experience anxiety symptoms than healthcare workers. They're not far behind you, but this is a real deal, folks. And it's the reason why this book it's not even a book, it's just a little monograph. It's why it had to be written. Education has figured out how to generate more occupational distress than a profession that deals with life and death every single day. When you boil it down, there's no more, I think, a sector on the planet that doesn't deal with just the real realities of life and death on a regular basis. And from our research across nearly 1,000 leadership teams, the average cabinet is operating at about 58% of its collective capacity. Why is that? Not because the people are wrong, not because the people are just getting lazy, because 3 forces are burning that capacity. It's just burning it out starting on Monday morning from underneath the team, and nobody has language to name it. The forces, the burnout force. Let me give you 3 of them. Tell you what, 3 of them. The first is meaning erosion, just eroding meaning. Your people came into this work for a reason. You came into this work for a reason, boss. A real reason, not to run compliance cycles. Let's get real. Not to sit through the 14th initiative kickoff of the fiscal year. Meaning erosion is what happens when the operational load so thoroughly dominates the calendar that people lose that thread between what they're doing on Tuesday and why they ever started the work in the first place. It doesn't knock, it doesn't announce itself, it just arrives slowly. The cabinet member who used to bring ideas, they start to arrive just bringing status reports, right? The VP who used to push back starts just nodding earlier and earlier. And meaning erosion isn't cynicism, it's grief. It's a real live, just internal issue, the slow grief of someone who still cares deeply. But just can no longer thread between their effort and their purpose. That's a biggie. The other one that we're wrestling with is agency compression. This is the quiet killer. Just sneaky Pete, just sneaks right. And it's the most directly connected to your behavior as a leader, which makes it the most uncomfortable one to sit with. Agency compression is what happens when the people around you begin to notice that their judgment doesn't actually change the outcomes. The decision will be made the way it will be made. Their input will be invited, but it isn't consequential, right? Most leaders don't compress their teams intentionally. They do it while believing they're just building this collaborative environment. But your cabinet can't tell the difference between being consulted and being debriefed, right? They're just too professional to say it out loud, right? So the reality is those two are big issues. And the third one, it's just this isolation normalization. Yeah, you wonder where that competitive spirit went. This is the one the field talks about the least, and it costs actually the most if you put numbers to it. Isolation normalizes. It's the process by which just being deeply alone at the top of a complex organization becomes acceptable. And it's just part of the job. Lonely at the top, right? I think that's an excuse. And many of us are hiding behind that calendared excuse because of our own wounds that we haven't dealt with. The 2026 AASA National Conference featured 4 National Superintendents of the Year finalists, publishing a joint piece about what they called the loneliest seat in the room. Can you sniff out where this is going? It's not because they lack strong teams. They all had remarkable teams, right? Because ultimate accountability, it rests on the set of shoulders, and almost no one has told them that it was a structural problem with a structural solution. The loneliest place at the top is not a personality trait. It's a structural outcome, folks, and it has a structural solution. It's not about the book. It's about the solutions on the inside. 3 forces: meaning erosion, you've got agency compression, you've got isolation normalization, right? They don't just show up in your HR data. They don't just show up in your climate survey. They accumulate quietly, insidiously, structurally, until the cabinet that was supposed to multiply your leadership capacity is just absorbing it instead. It's not subtraction, it's just plain addition. When the world is saying by demand, we must multiply. So here are 3 things that I think that you can do. I'll give you a week to consider them. Next Monday, each one takes under 30 minutes. Okay. First, excuse me, run the meeting audit before any agenda item in your next cabinet meeting. Ask this: what's one moment from the last 90 days where you kind of felt genuinely connected to why this work matters? Don't answer it first. Give the room about 90 seconds of silence, because it's there, it's alive, sometimes it's dormant, and count who struggles to find the one. Second, just draw the agency map. List the last 10 significant decisions that your cabinet made together. For each one, honestly answer, did their input change the outcome? I'm not going to say anything more. Run that audit. The third, just name one true thing. Find the right moment. This is where discretion, discipline comes in. With the right person, and say something honest. I've been carrying this one alone, and I shouldn't have done that, right? When the leader names the weight, the cabinet is allowed to help carry it. So name one true thing. It's not a wellness statement. This isn't a wellness protocol. Wellness is a good thing, but I tell you what, we don't need any more resiliency training. Okay, that's a collective architectural shift. That's what we're dealing with. Here's the maturity shift that it should change everything. And what we've pulled from nearly 1,000 leadership teams in our research who moved from 60% to 90+% capacity, they didn't get there by becoming more resilient. Okay, we're not giving tote bags away today, folks. They got there by removing the forces consuming their capacity faster than it could regenerate. That is the sector of education today, folks. So comment below, one word only, which of those three forces is most active in your cabinet right now? Is it meaning erosion? Is it agency compression? Is it just the normalization of isolation? Your honesty, it's going to give some other people out there somewhere permission to name theirs. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to sit with this and think of, with your cabinet, you can book the Burnout Force keynote. It's a 2.5 hour, actually, it's not even that long. We can probably wrap it up in about 90 minutes. Pull it into a standing meeting that you already have this summer. This thing is not about yourself. We built something exactly for elevating and accelerating the culture of your team by eliminating some of the things that are just getting in the way. The other thing is the Team Institute. 8 months, your full cabinet sequential. It's built to restore the collective architecture that the Burnout Force has quietly started to dismantle. I would say step 1, Burnout Force. Step 2, let's get some other things on the calendar for the 26-27 academic year to keep your team growing in understanding what healthy teams look like and what highly reliable systems demand. We've seen 3x improvement, 29% higher engagement, 27% better outcomes with 0 burnout increase. That's the thing. You can hit the target, but if you hit the target with your team burned out, you didn't really hit the target. If this is the conversation that you're ready to have, you know where to find me. You can message me directly and let's just set up a virtual coffee. Just no pitches. Let's just have a real conversation. Again, I think Burnout Force, fantastic for a keynote. And then the Team Institute as the follow. Peace, friends. Keep your dukes up and keep fighting for each other.